on social media, I don't think there's a lot of listening that happens. There is the connect is very, very impersonal, which is like a bang opposite of how it is on community. With Instamojo, the idea of building a community was to stay connected with the users and the customers, and in the sense go beyond just a transactional relationship.
So welcome everyone to another event of Community Hood. I'm your host, Nipun Goyal. I'm also the founder and CEO of LikeMinds, which is the software that powers the community of Community Hood. Today, the format that we have is, we call it Community Deep Dive. It's a new format. We are trying to explore where, we get one community builder to sort of open up deeply about about the community that they've built. And over time, we get to know the best practices from them. But there is a flip side to it as well, where we will try to answer as a community, some questions and challenges that, this community builder is facing. My first guest for this event, is someone who I think has been an active member in our community as well. So makes me so happy to start with him. So I want to introduce you, Nikhil Marwaha to everyone. Nikhil is a community manager at Instamojo. He started his community building journey late last year, and so far, found it very fulfilling. That gave him a very nice, deeper understanding on why building an online community should be a priority for every brand. And we were talking about it with Nikhil. One fine day, we thought, we should start with this format. And Nikhil was one of the first person who came in my mind. So, for Nikhil, understanding the responsibility of community manager in his word has been one of the biggest learnings for him. And he feels that community manager is the voice of the brand, which bridges the gap between the brand and the customer. And we want to learn more about that voice, Nikhil. Welcome to this first ever community deep dive at Community Hood. I hope that we make best out of the time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nipun. Thank you so much for approaching me for this first session. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. And thank you to everyone who's joining us also from all the parts of the country. And as Nipun said, hopefully we make the best of the time that we have today. And, I'm able to add some value to everybody who's joined. And hopefully, this particular segment that, everyone started on LikeMinds, it goes on further and sees more success.
I would like to invite Nitin Pratap from Airmeet. Nitin will be co-hosting this session with me. We are trying to learn some of the best practices of hosting events from, someone who is head of events at a event hosting platform. So while I'm trying to, manage a community while running a community building platform, I think I see a lot of synergies with Nitin where, he does like a lot of events, and sort of knows a lot of best practices. So, I checked very, very quickly. Nitin has also been like one of the, host at a very, very large conference before he, joined Airmeet. And I would let Nitin maybe talk about himself for a minute before we, start grilling Nikhil on his journey. Nitin, over to you.
Thank you, Nipun. Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to host this show. I'm part of Airmeet. I lead events team there, and I did lead a conference on remote work, and that was our flagship conference. When I was doing this startup of my own, the Remote Life, which later got acquired by Airmeet, and I'm a pioneer of working remotely since 2015 and virtual events. So virtual events are very close to my heart. I have been practicing virtual events, eating, living, reading virtual events since 2016, when it was a pre-pandemic era, when virtual events were not a necessity. It was an exercise that I wanted to do to make sure that people actually share knowledge without any barriers of locations.
So the idea is, the community deep dive series is for us, all of us, to understand really deeply as much as possible from whatever, Nikhil has learned.
So hi everybody. As you've already heard, I am Nikhil, and I work with Instamojo and I handle communities for them, including other social channels as well. Before, obviously Nipun has introduced me wonderfully, but let me give you a small glimpse into what I was doing before I became a community manager. So I have worked at several companies before I got into hardcore marketing, especially the community manager role. Among the many roles that I have been a part of, in many organizations, I've worked as a graphic designer, I have worked as a copywriter, I've also worked as a ad optimization analyst as well in the SEM field. These were the few roles that I played earlier, so nothing in the hardcore, marketing field. And I was trying to build a career in these particular fields when I actually realized that this isn't my true calling, and I should actually look at opportunities which were more creatively stimulating for me. Which is when I spoke to a friend of mine who was earlier working at Instamojo, and she told me that there's an opening for a role called there's an opening for a community manager. And this was actually the first time I'd heard this designation, community manager. Believe it or not, I hadn't even heard of it. So I was like, that sounds interesting, because the word community itself has a meaning to, it has a meaning to itself, which gave me an idea that, it could be something that I should definitely explore. So she, genuinely encouraged me, saying that because she knew me personally, she said that, I feel like you'll be good for this role and you should go for it. And that's when I started my research. I did a lot of homework where I tried to understand, what exactly a community manager does. That's when I had done my personal deep dive into understanding the role. So that's like a short glimpse of my journey so far, how I got into community management and how I became a community manager, so to say.
All right. Thank you for that quick introduction, Nikhil. So a leading question that I have in my head is, what are the top 3 skills that you think are important to be a community manager? Because you have seen that transition, right? You have yourself studied that, okay, what do you want to, what is that requirement? So any top 3 skills that you have for us that is absolutely necessity required for being a community manager?
See, honestly, I think the first thing that would be required out of a community manager would be, it's not a skill per se, but I don't know if that can be honed, but empathy is something that I have in my personal experience seen that that has helped a lot.
Definitely a skill.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know if it's something that you can learn. I personally do not know if you can learn empathy from somewhere. I'm sure you can, but I personally believe to be an empathetic person, and that has sort of helped me in building relationships over my life, also professional relationships and friendships and all of those things. And I feel like those are very instrumental when you're building a community. You need to be very close to the members. You need to understand, what the community essentially is about. Like, if I'm speaking from Instamojo terms, if I have to actually give you a little a context about what Instamojo does, is we are basically an e-commerce platform. We provide e-commerce websites to small business owners if you'd want to start your own business. So we have many people in the groups in our communities who either already have a business with Instamojo, or even not on Instamojo, or people who actually want to start their business. So I think the second skill that a community manager would require is an understanding of what the community actually stands for. What is the core agenda of the group? Why has the group been formed? What are you trying to achieve from it? So with Instamojo, the idea of building a community was to stay connected with the users and the customers, and in the sense go beyond just a transactional relationship that okay, fine, you've bought our product, you're using our product, so okay, you can only talk to us when you have a problem or something like that. That wasn't the idea. We would want them to feel more connected with our product, and also other people who are using our product, and even other people who might potentially want to use our product. So the group consists of a varied range of people. So the second skill I'd say is having a core understanding of what the group stands for. The third thing I would say is to maybe have a few skills that would, if you can write, if you can speak, if you can listen, because these three skills I've even mentioned down in the further in the slides. But these are few skills that I feel are, I probably wouldn't say that they're absolutely necessary. And a community manager, if this isn't their strength, I wouldn't say that they can't be a successful community manager. But these definitely come in handy, because these are all things that you'll have to do. You will have to write a lot, you will have to listen to a lot of people, and you'll also have to speak to a lot of people. So if this is something that you're not entirely comfortable with, I would say that maybe you could bring this into your focus area and work on these, because these will be instrumental as well. Building communities at Instamojo, like why was the focus, like why Instamojo looked at building communities? As I briefly mentioned, when I joined Instamojo, we had communities on 3 platforms that we are still continuing on the same platforms, which is Facebook, WhatsApp, and Telegram. That you're not supposed to lose objective of the community. The idea of the community is you need to know what the community has been formed for. So since our product is very dynamic in nature, it keeps it keeps changing, we keep adding new features, we keep making changes actively to it. So it's important for us to also keep the users in the know of all the updates that are coming across. So and we have a huge and diverse range of customer base within the communities, as I had already mentioned. So they're not all users of Instamojo. Like if I had to give you a ratio, it would probably be say, like 60% of them would probably be users of Instamojo, and the other 40 would be potential users, or they're just in the group to understand more about how you can go about starting your online business and stuff like that. So the idea is to keep everybody updated, keep them abreast with everything that's happening in the field of e-commerce, sharing relevant resources and stuff like that. So that's the idea of the community. So with Instamojo specifically, there's like a two-way benefit to it. Since we are ever evolving as a company, and even as since we are a product-based company, the product is also evolving. We have the opportunity to seek feedback actively from the community. Since most of them, or like a good chunk of them, are our users, and even if they aren't, it's still like a healthy discussion to have. If the other members are trying to get into the e-commerce space, what is something that they're looking at, what is something that is holding them back if they're not already on the e-commerce like in the e-commerce zone. So that gives us a good understanding as to where the audience is. And considering we have people from all corners of the country, from like tier 2 to tier 3 towns, and even metros for that matter, it gives us a good understanding of where our audience is in terms of trying to set up their e-commerce store, or trying to set up their own business. So that helps us collect feedback from them actively. And as I said, we can keep them updated with any new product launches or new sales that are coming up. And additionally, it also helps us give them community community specific discounts, for that matter, that you're part of the Instamojo community, so this particular discount will apply to you, or something like that. That is also something that is like a benefit for us. And for them, the community also sometimes doubles up as like a support branch, wherein they can reach out on the community saying that, hey, I've run into this particular error, has anybody else seen this error somewhere? So if somebody else has, they will obviously help them out, and if they haven't, I'm also there as the admin, and also as a community expert over there. Because I also have a good understanding of the product, so I'll be able to help them out. And even if I'm not able to do that, I can escalate their query, on priority to the support team, so they can get their queries also addressed really quickly. So, I mean, these are just some few overarching points that were the idea behind creating a community for Instamojo. And I mean, of course, it's a great tool to create like strong relationships between the brand and the consumer, that being the main goal.
All right, Nikhil, let's move ahead with your presentation. Do you have anything else for us on this particular slide?
Yeah, another like a couple of slides, but we'll quickly go through them. The next important slide for me, this particularly was a big learning for me, because we're all on social media, and we all at least think that, I don't know for everybody, I'll just speak for myself. I personally, even before I'd become a community manager and, before I was in the creative space or the marketing space, I believe to be, a complete expert on social media. And when I was doing my research on community management, which was like slightly at the surface level, I believed it to be the same thing. I was like, social media, and community management is the same thing, because you're following the same, let's say like chronology, like, you're creating content, you're sharing the content for the audience to consume, and you expect a certain engagement level from it. And, the end result of that is you're, increasing your audience, or you're growing your audience. So I was like, it's the same, but, I couldn't be more wrong, because it's very different. There's a huge difference between social media and like community management. So so I personally would spend a lot of time on Instagram, Twitter, Quora, and I had a certain level of understanding of that as well. But when I got into the community management role and I started interacting with people on again, Facebook was one of the same platforms that it comes under social media, but Facebook groups is something else. And then when I started handling communities on WhatsApp, I understood that there is a big difference in the way you engage with the audience. The voice that you use, the voice that we speak about. The voice that I've also said when Nipun was introducing me, it's very different. On the first thing that differentiates the two is a social media manager would speak as the brand. They would often be speaking as per a social strategy, whereas a community manager would be speaking as themselves. They are more like a brand ambassador, endorsing the brand, and speaking and more importantly, listening to the members of the group. On social media, I don't think there's a lot of listening that happens. There is the connect is very, very impersonal, which is like a bang opposite of how it is on community. On community, it's more about the personal connect that you have with people, so that because that's how the community is tight knit, wherein there's a personal connect. So, and the second thing that I would talk about is social media requires you to mostly like broadcast information to the audience with very minimal interaction, whereas on a community you will have to talk, you will have to listen, engage actively, and at the same time not just engage for the sake of engaging, but also if somebody is sharing something with you, it could be not just with you, but with the group. It could be something that they're actually looking help for, so you can't just engage just for the sake of engaging. You need to understand that you need to add value to what they're asking. You need to actually help them out to be able to sort of build that trust with them. It's basically like building relationships on community. On social, it's really not like that. And the last most important differentiating factor between both would be the KPIs. The KPIs, like basically the metrics that you track on social media are very different from community. Although, as I mentioned, the chronology that is followed is pretty much the same, but the KPIs are very different. On social, you will you'll probably track conversion metrics like conversions and impressions, reach, etc. For community, the goals will be very, very different. It will be around the number of members that are there, the engagement rate of the content that you're putting out. What is how is the content performing in terms of how are the people reacting to it, not just in terms of it got like 50 likes or it got 60 comments, not like that, but like how are people, how is it helping people, how are they, what is the conversation that is coming out of that particular piece of content that you're putting out. And like more importantly, it's also how the relationships that you're cultivating with the members, right? That's one of it's unfortunately or fortunately, it's not quantifiable, which is again, like I said, it's unfortunate or fortunate, I don't know, but you can't really quantify the relationship, the kind of relationship that you have with them. But again, I mean, I could be wrong. If there's if there's an insight or if there's a way to do that as well, I would be very happy to learn that.
Thank you for that insight, Nikhil.